Bob gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League Recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am Tired Bob, also known as BlazzinBob, but coming to you live after a long move, and we're going to talk some Overwatch League. So today we have the usuals. iplaigames, aka Andres. What's going on, sir?
What's up? How's it going? I know moving can be a pain in the butt. I've been there before many times. I've been building new furniture as well over here, so I know it's not as bad as you, but it's about around the same vein.
Oh man, yeah, I love how I was sending photos to our private group, about moving and all the stuff I'm doing, and then Rob sends me his flood, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's worse, And also we are joined by Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
I am good. I'd like to know, iPlay though, is your furniture from IKEA?
No, but it was very IKEA-like in the
Oh
assembly.
yeah, the 82-page directions for like 4 pieces. You have like 7 left over, and you're like, "What am I doing wrong?"
That's how they get you.
I know.
I think Bob's muted over here. Guess I see you talking.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we actually just moved. Speaking of IKEA, and there's one 2 miles from us now.
Oh, lucky us.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
See, you've seen the alternative strat where you never buy furniture, you just keep telling IKEA you're missing one part of of the furniture that was shipped to you, and you just slowly over the course of 2 years build a couch out of it.
Well,
That's one
voice,
strategy, Ramses.
That voice that you just heard, returning for a second time, is the best looking man in Overwatch podcasting, Ramses. How you doing, brother?
Not right now. I look like a mess right now, but I appreciate the compliment. Thank you, Mr. Bob.
Your looks just make me angry all the time, so I had to point it out.
I don't know, dude. I'm about to shave this. I'm about to go into 85% humidity for 8 days, so I'm gonna shave all this off. This is all coming off my head. We're gonna go sweat out in Florida for a couple of days, but I would be remiss if I went out and did that without stopping by, hanging out with some of my favorite people in the community. So happy to be here. Good to see you guys. Awesome.
All right, well, so we're a little off this week. We've been packing and moving, but we were able to watch the games while packing and while unpacking, and some of them made us pretty angry. Speaking for me and Mel, I'm sure Andreas is still feeling good, and Ramses is probably not very happy either, but we will get into that. So at the top of the show...
The weight is off.
The weight is off. Yeah. The season's also over, though. But so
Not
we
for
all
everyone, just for some of us.
We always start the show off by thanking our recap producer Shazir, who also just gave us 1,000 bits in Twitch chat. Thank you, sir. We also have a new patron this week, and that's Patrick Weber, and he jumped in and decided to support us. So thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Patrick.
Woot woot! Thanks, Patrick.
We're going to start this this week off with a listener question. It's basically something I'm kind of curious about too, but it's about our intro. And if you haven't ever watched it on YouTube or come to see us live, you won't know what we're talking about, so I apologize. But Mel made our intro, and we had a question from Hirad C in Discord. Is the intro from a specific play or just random? Something about a pulse bomb being eaten. And I've always thought that Mel used that clip because it's Dallas getting spanked by San Francisco. But we're curious to hear the actual answer because I actually have never asked her.
I mean, that may have had a subliminal influence on my choice of clips, but I'm pretty sure I was like, hey, it'd be really cool if I added in a clip at the beginning of this, and then I was running out of time, and so I just watched a few different games and tried to find a good clip, and I was like, okay, this is a good one. So yeah,
And
there was not any more thought in that. It's probably not even that high a quality of a clip. I could probably find a better one now.
yeah, but we were trying to get something for the start of the season, and I love that you used Kilios's voice because he is my favorite voice. Not necessarily like my favorite color or my favorite play-by-play, but his actual voice is just, I love it, man. I mean, he belts it out with kind of like a scream, like a half scream. I don't even know how to explain it, but the way he says the Dallas Fuel just gets me excited. So I do like the intro, but in years to come, we might do something different. It just all depends. But we're
Well, and
go.
he does like, sorry about that. He does like instead of people being like, it's the Dallas Fuel, he does like, it's the Dallas Fuel. Like there's like a point
No,
on the end of
he
everything.
does. And it's the Dallas Fuel. I mean, it's like powerful.
Does he do it with other teams or just the Dallas Fuel?
I don't know. I've just noticed the Dallas Fuel more, but he does have that. He just has that thing in his voice, and I love it.
What thing was that? I didn't hear it.
I'm not doing it again. But okay, well, let's jump into the news real quick, and Mel's going to bring the news to you this week. So, Mel, why don't you let us know what's going on in Overwatch League?
Yeah, so first up in league news, we've got, I just thought this was really cool. So Prophet's father opened up a PC bang in South Korea and named it Prophet PC. Like, and it's like
this name is perfect for entrepreneurship. Like Prophet's father is profiting off of Prophet's name by creating a PC bang in South Korea. That's pretty amazing.
Right.
But honestly, I think it's a good idea, and might as well, like, if it's your family, take advantage of your popularity, right? Like, people know who you are. They already gonna maybe come to your place because, hey, that's Prophet's, father's place. Let's go check it out.
right.
So I don't know. I think it's a cool move, especially because over there, PC banks are so popular, and this is probably like a way to differentiate yourself from all the other ones that are out there.
Right. It's not like you're just the most conveniently located, like they're like every other block, but
Hopefully, it's
you're
conveniently
like
located too, though, because
right, I
I'm
know,
reading
but
that
even
there are
if you
like
have to
restaurants over there.
travel, right, even if you have to travel like an extra 2 blocks to get to that PC bang as opposed to the other one, maybe
Oh
you go
yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly.
And it could be kind of cool with like if it's close to wherever Seoul is going to do their home stands next year too.
Boom, watch parties right there. See, Prophet is thinking about this, or Prophet's dad.
Profit's gonna make profit
Oh, he's gonna make
off
a
of
profit
profit.
with it.
Well, and to my knowledge, at least, this is probably like the first time we've ever seen like an officially like endorsed by a specific player anything from Overwatch League. That comes to mind, at least. I could be forgetting it something, but like this is the first like non-specific Overwatch thing, I guess. I don't know. It's cool. Like it's interesting to see kind of the stuff. Like it's always awesome to see stuff branch out more into the real world. But I hope it works out. I mean, to secure the bag while you can. Like, good for them.
Yeah, profit starts like declining in performance and profit PC starts declining in revenue. Like, so you kind of tied yourself to your son's glory here. So
No,
let's
that's
hope it
what
keeps
Prophet
up.
right there and goes
It
and
quiet.
coaches in his own PC bang.
Oh,
It
yeah.
quietly becomes the gesture the gesture piece.
Prophet's dad's like, son, I love you, but
One day, Prophet shows
Gesture's
up.
really performing.
I gotta secure that bag, son. You understand? Like you had a great run, but gesture is forever.
great news.
Oh, all right. So another thing is looking at, so they changed the housing rules for the 2020 season. And I think this is a lot due to the fact that they'll be going to their home cities and they'll be traveling a lot. So in 2020, they are not requiring teams to provide housing for the players. So they are requiring them to provide housing for at least 90 days, a player's agreement. And then they must show like help or assistance in getting them a place to live. And they still have to play housing and travel when they go to the other cities or countries or whatnot. So I think it's interesting. I mean, when you think of traditional sports, like traditional sports don't pay for players' housing. I think it's because they were requiring everybody to come to one city for such a long time that they were like,
Yeah, the first couple of seasons, you're asking people to move countries,
Mhm.
and it's so hard to have to move to a country and still be able to, practice and do all this while you're looking for a house. And like, I don't,
and they
I don't know
hadn't
if you
built
guys
up
have ever
that money
experienced
yet.
this.
Mhm.
No, exactly. And like, I don't know if you guys have tried this before, but when you move to a different country, like things like your credit history, if they even had one because they're so young, it's gone, right? And like getting a loan or getting a lease, all that is dependent on you, showing that you've been here before and that you have an income, all that stuff. It's really hard. So I could see them why they made that move. But now that they've been here for a while, they know how the things are, and they have the time to do that. It makes more sense that then the players can find their own accommodations. Because at the end of the day, I think that living in a team house is not the most ideal environment, right? Like it's cool having a chef and like your friends there and like all that stuff there, but you still want a certain degree of individuality and your own personal space where you can do your own thing. And for the players, it's probably a good move.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean, the Outlaws. Oh, I was just going to comment on that, but the Outlaws they have individual apartments, and when interviewed, they say they have individual apartments because they are all like they say a little bit older. I think,
that
okay,
was
but
exactly what I was gonna say. I think
oh,
it just
sorry,
depends on
Cool.
the age group, because
right?
Yeah.
it's kind
But
of
a lot
think
of them have
about
girlfriends and
college.
stuff. Like,
Well, I mean, think
Cool
about
Dad
David
69
college,
needs his own
by
house, all
himself.
right?
like living in the dorms in college. Like you know, that's pretty fun. Like when it first starts out, but then
it's more
it
compared
kind
to
of
like a frat
loses
house
that.
than the dorms, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
true,
Like,
true.
people dorm in frat houses. I
mhm.
mean,
But
dormitories. Well, I do like. I think it's it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward, because we know with a couple of these organizations, like Florida comes to mind, or like even when we heard some stuff about Boston. Like, granted, this rumor didn't turn out to be true, I think, but like about the rumor that like they sent mistakes home to Russia and didn't even pay for his flight out. Like, there's still opportunity for these orgs to kind of cut corners. And that's the thing with esports in general, is just because the industry is still so young and a lot of the money still isn't there yet, people are going to cut corners when they can. So I think
yeah,
laying, not saying that like every single team is going to be like, cool, we can screw over all of our players, like you're sleeping in a bunk bed outside of the team house. It's just nice to have these rules in place, just to try and block out the one or two cases that might pop up.
well, I think they're trying to make up though for the amount of money that the teams are going to have to spend traveling their players to the different locations and housing them in different areas, that they couldn't also expect them to pay for housing year round where they only would be there half the time in
Mhm.
a specific area, right? So I don't think it's awful. Yes, they could cut corners, but then it's also like a bargaining chip for teams that are providing housing, right? Like, hey, you want housing? We provide an apartment with our contract. Does Boston? Probably not. Like and it's
Yeah,
just
could be a
things that
bargaining chip.
players need to get like more like fluent on what is to be expected, what they need, what they're looking for, and make sure that they negotiate those things into their contracts, just like every other person, right? You've had 2 years to kind of grow up and, try to manage your money better. And now you have to say, do I want somebody that's going to pay me a little bit more money, or do I want somebody that's going to pay for housing?
When we just got out of the whole like Kyrie, or not Kyrie Irving, I'm sorry, the whole like Kawhi Leonard like free agency thing, and like so much of that wasn't even just money; it was about, here's the most attractive total package of a place to go to. Like, it wasn't just
Yeah.
like the teams offering you this money. It's like, hey, here's all the benefits of moving to LA for the Lakers. Like, here's all the benefits of staying in Toronto with the Raptors. Like, there's a whole package there. So it's definitely cool to see this become like a little bit more of a bargaining chip or something to flex, because it's just also like, yeah, I'm rambling, but
The
yeah.
one thing I worry about though with the younger kids is just health. Like Are they going to be living on hot pockets? You know, like having like a chef and everything is a pretty good thing for a young kid who might have had every meal prepared by their mom before they come in there. Speaking of which, is your mom going to make a cameo this week, Ramses?
No, but my brother might. We'll see.
You're muted, I
you're,
play.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, even if the players are living in their own houses, the team can still take measures to ensure that they're living a healthy lifestyle and they're, up to speed or up to in par with, the energy levels that they gotta have. Because they still have, regular practice schedules, right? They still gotta show up to their job like everyone else, even if they live in their own apartment. And around those times, you can still provide things like the right food, right? Like if you come in, let's say at training starts at 10 or 11 in the morning. They can come in early and have breakfast at the training grounds, get lunch over there, and maybe they even offer the dinner option or dinners like go do what you need to, but like they can still provide those things around the job, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're also required to submit player housing plans and get them approved by the league office. So, noting if they are going to provide housing or not, and how they're going to make sure that
They're
their
not gonna
players
put them
have
on some cheap
appropriate housing.
apartments
Right.
and then
Yeah, we're
industrial
providing housing.
product.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the different teams plop down because everybody's talking about how they want to have proper people to scrim. I think teams like Dallas would be fine as long as they keep their contenders team local to the envy office too. You'd have great scrims, but some of the teams it might be a little more difficult to find scrim partners that are on land. So interesting to see how it all plays out. But why don't you move us on to team news?
So, in the teams, we have Defiant parted ways with their head coach, Bishop, sadly, on his birthday.
Hmm.
He let us know. But I think for me, Defiant was not doing very well in the GOATS meta, and they were supposed to be really hot in the 222, and that didn't happen. And I think Defiant was trying to find a scapegoat. I don't know that it was Bishop's fault, but I can't say. What are your thoughts?
If you go through like his twit longer, like we were talking about this on our show yesterday, if you go through his twit longer, yes, there's kind of the whole thing about him titling it like 222 goats and him talking about it being on his birthday. But it also sounds like it was more of a thing of him like saying like, you know what, like let's be honest here, Toronto's planning for next season.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what happens
Totally.
for this season. Why not make the move now and just start hitting the ground while you can? Like Bishop probably wasn't going to be there next season. So why don't you just release him now? Let him go out and like start either getting other opportunities or just start working on what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's the
I think
Yeah.
same. It's the same thing that NFL teams do, and probably other sports do as well. Like once you're out of it, there's no playoff chances. Like you just go ahead and cut them, and it's actually kind of a kindness to the coach because it gives them more time to get offers from other teams. I don't think Bishop's done in Overwatch League. I think he's going to be moving on to a different team.
it
Well, he
sounds like he's
said he
taking a
was
break.
taking a break,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we'll see.
maybe that's like retiring for players, right? Where it's like, yeah, I'm going to retire. Just kidding. I play any thoughts on Bishop?
Yeah, I think that Define is struggling. I think they came out of nowhere for him. That's why he ended up tweeting it out. I think that maybe the way that they did it was a little bit cold towards him. So I don't know if there was any animosity in there, or maybe they were not in the best terms. Maybe they had some disagreements, and basically they were just like, you know what, we're gonna let him go. Look for something else. Defiant was one of those teams, or is one of those teams that made a huge splash at the beginning of the season, and everyone was looking towards them. And they had I'm 37, which also one of like the biggest splashes when he came over, and then one of the biggest drop offs too. The team is generally just not doing very good, and they went from being like a team that could potentially be a top 5 to the bottom 10. So right now
Mhm.
they're probably maybe scratching their heads and wondering like what happened here. We were poised to do great things, and maybe this is one of their reactions to it.
Yeah.
Mm. And Toronto's been like a weird team this whole like. I think there's already there's something going on with Toronto just because of all the stuff we've seen. Like going from an all Korean roster and all Korean coaching staff to a mixed roster, and now it looks like a primarily Western featuring Aid and Neko like roster,
Yeah.
and having a mixed coaching staff. Like that's definitely a very very hard culture shock.
Yeah.
And I think Bishop, I think, might have been the scapegoat a little bit. I think what everybody, excuse me, what everybody freaked out about was the fact that they said effective immediately on the Twitter post, which is PR speak for just like, hey, like we're doing it now. But
Right.
you like
It happened.
people,
Fired.
Overwatch Twitter and Overwatch Reddit read so freaking much into everything.
Oh
that
yeah,
they're-
you know they do.
Like, oh man, they freaking like career assassinated Bishop on his birthday, and like everyone was like
Right.
super like huge about it.
I mean,
I really wish Reddit.
Oh no, come on! You gotta fire him on his birthday. You can't wait till the next day at least.
They probably
That's
had
true.
no
That's true.
idea it was his birthday. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's
Even
also a
worse.
problem.
Even worse.
Yeah, you don't want to work for a company that doesn't know that. But to be fair, like it doesn't really matter. The day of his birthday, the day after his birthday, it still would have been a sad sob story. You know, like people would have spun it like, oh, they just didn't do it on his birthday, but they waited till the day after his birthday, and like, you know.
No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, that should have nothing to do with a professional decision, but it just
Right.
happens to be a shitty coincidence.
Right. So we also had Justice who dropped Physique.
Fajix.
Phasix. Yep.
Fajix. It's like a weird pronunciation. Je.
yeah, I mean,
Je.
but I mean, Fozik's like, I mean, basically his spot was taken over by Ark, though, right?
Mm.
So,
Right. He didn't really see a lot of play. I think, to be honest, they cut him because he wasn't going to see play. And hey, here's your opportunity to maybe find other opportunities, you know? So I don't see anything in that. You guys have any thoughts?
yeah,
It's just it's kind of a bummer in that like he went out like pretty much as soon as the arc hit the team, they were like, okay, like within like a day, I think they were just like, yep, inactive. Like they like immediately stamped him with the inactive tag. And then he went like he made some appearances at watch parties. Like for some reason, he's the jersey you can buy for the Washington Justice, like at the Overwatch League Arena.
Yeah, you know, they're trying to sell him.
Like
Yeah,
they have
they're
all
trying-
these leftover
yeah, they got a lot-
jerseys.
They got a lot of them, but stuck. They need to,
Right.
clear
I think,
those
I mean,
out.
to be honest, though, you can't blame them for putting Ark in. I mean, Ark was
No.
a wonderful, okay, he's not a tremendous Lucio, but he's a decent Lucio. But his ability to communicate with Korean and Western players is the big boon that I think he brings to the team.
Yeah, but I mean,
For sure.
Ark brings it better, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what-
I'm
that's
just
what
saying
she
his
said.
Lucio wasn't like top
Oh,
tier,
yeah, Ark's, yeah, definitely not.
but his communication style I think was good.
And his
So-
Baptiste has been pretty off the hook. So
Yeah.
His Baptiste has been pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie. He's overall like pretty good support that can sometimes fill a Lucio because that's not been his main role, right? But he's been able to kind of pull it off when he needs to, which I think overall just makes Ark one of the most flexible players in the support role, right? Not only he can play a lot of the main supports, but like you said, Mel, he has the ability to communicate in both worlds. So I think that right now Ark is a valuable player in general.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I
we hope
think-
Fozix finds a new home.
Yeah. So last thing we have on our news is the Outlaws did appoint Chris Diapolino. Yep, we're gonna go with that as team
Diapolino.
president. Yep, either one, whatever you
Diapolino.
prefer.
Hold
They
on, yeah.
appointed him
Diapolino.
as team president. So the Outlaws recently got bought out, which is great. Woohoo! And
Well,
then
they didn't get bought out yet. They had an offer submitted.
okay.
So we
whatever.
can't. The
Semantics.
contract has not been signed yet. The money has not
Okay.
exchanged hands.
Well, we are looking forward to the signing of the contract.
Yes.
There's been word of them getting bought out. And then we have this new president, but he's not really new. He's been with Optic Gaming. What do you guys have any thoughts on this? I don't know that we know much about him.
No, I don't have any thoughts yet. I mean, we're gonna have to see, but I don't know much about him. I'm assuming that it's not really someone who's in esports, but I don't
No,
know.
he's
No, he
he's
is.
in Optic Game. Oh wait, are you talking about the new owner or the new president?
The new
The new-
president.
Yeah, the new
No.
president is with Optic Gaming, and he's like secured partnerships and built relationships with a lot of like sponsors and things for Optic Gaming. And so
So
he's
he's like a
been
mini
with the
Nate.
crew, I guess.
Cool.
Let's hope he doesn't go to Fortnite.
Well, so like, so, and I think and Ice gave bad information before. So he was with Infinite. He was with Infinite before. Excuse me. But this is a guy who is like executive vice president of partnerships with Infinite, president of Triggerfish, which is a sponsorship sales arm of Infinite.
Oh, you're right. Optic is Outlaws. My bad.
Genesco Sports Enterprises, like account manager for Jack Morton Worldwide. It's different, but it's a guy who's like done a lot of like sponsorship and partnership building, which is something that Houston already kind of has in their belt because they are one of the more marketable, like big, like they have one of the have that have. Excuse me, they have a very heavy like marketing presence and like are very very well like have a very very strong fan base regardless of their record. So I think this is somebody who comes in to fully actualize like one of Houston's strengths and kind of like make it as big as possible. I'm still waiting for them to sign an actual esports management organization to come in and run the team because the Zebra Group still doesn't like. You look at the Zebra Group, the group who's trying to buy them out. They don't have any, not even esports. They don't have any sports experience.
Yeah, they're investment bankers, right?
Oh, real estate. Sorry.
Yeah. So we'll see. But let's talk about the games.
Yeah, let's move into the games. The first thing I want to talk about this week is the Dallas Fuel. Because they pissed me off this week and I just want to talk about it. So
I laughed about it.
I'm sitting there packing up the last of my apartment on it was Friday night, and I'm watching the Fuel play while I pack up, and they're playing the Gladiators, and I was like, we go off to a 2-0 start. It is unfreaking believable. They look awesome. AKM's back in. He's kicking butt on Reapers. Zachary's killing it on May. And then it moves into a reverse sweep. And even Frito from your Overwatch sent me a tweet that said, hey, brother, if you want to talk, we can talk. You know, like that reverse sweep. And it's just... Oh, and then they go on on Sunday and they get 4-0'd by the Shock. And I mean, not just 4-0'd, but I mean, Sinatra was styling on him. On Temple of Anubis, Sinatra's playing Genji on defense and 5K'ing everybody. Like, I mean, it's just sad, and the Fuel it feels like they've given up for the season and they've just kind of thrown in the towel. But I wanted to see what you guys thought about it because I'm just sad.
You know, people are saying maybe the Fuel would see a little bit of a break in the change of meta in the 2-2-2, but honestly, I think it's been the opposite for them. That this change of meta has really, really made them struggle. And I would say between them and Boston, they're sort of competing for the bottom spot right now because Mayhem has considerably improved with the change of meta, and Washington Justice is probably the biggest takeoff. They're no longer at the bottom anymore. In fact, they're the only team I'm worried about going up against this week as Atlanta Reign. Well, that and London, because you never know what they're gonna do. But that being
Will they
said,
show up today?
yeah, exactly. Dallas is just struggling right now. I feel like they cannot find their pace. And in this meta, like you said, Bob, like some of the other teams are styling on them.
Dude, we haven't won for like 2 stages. Like the last game that we won was the first game of stage 3.
Yeah.
Right after the homestand, right?
Yeah.
Eh, the lull was bad. I feel like though Dallas is really realizing they're missing of their top tier hit scan DPS. And I think that AKM has done well. I think Taimu's done well, but I think they haven't committed to either of them. And so neither of them are able to get hot. And two, there's still this like team synergy that they're missing. Like something's missing there with, hero picks switching a lot and like stuff like that. You can just tell the coordination just isn't quite there. They're trying to make things work. And I think they're in a rut because they haven't won in a long time and they're trying to carry as individual players and it's just not going well.
The thing with Fuel watching them this weekend was that the first thing was watching them play the Gladiators when they were up 2-0. I thought we all thought they were going to win because how Fuel is. Fuel either gets swept or sweeps. So they're up 2-0 and I was like, oh, this might actually happen. This is going to be sick. And they just couldn't hold the linchpin in long enough. And I think something that needs to be said is, and you've heard a couple pro players talk this up on a vast streaming and other places, it's not Zach's fault anymore. And I know we've been very quick to blame Zachary for anything wrong with the Fuel, anything that's not even remotely his fault. But it's the kind of thing where we can't yes, Fuel has these players who can carry, but it looks like they've just been mentally out of it for a stage.
Well,
I know
they keep switching out their DPS and they keep switching out their main tank. How are you supposed to get any synergy switching out your main tank?
In the Gladiators game, I didn't get the map 4 switch to Trill and then switch back to OGE for the for map 5. I thought that was a little bizarre.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think it's the idea of you paid this money to bring Trill up. And Trill's this player they've said they want to keep him in the rotation. You don't want that guy just sitting on the bench in case something big happens. With the DPS rotation, I think is just for one, it's map specialties. They've had people train for different maps before. Now in this new meta, I just don't think they know what they want to do.
Well, I think deep DPS rotation works fine, but I think even off tank rotation works fine. But something we have never seen be successful, at least that I could think of, is main tank subs. We've never seen that.
Smurf and Super.
Oh well, yeah, just recently, yeah.
Mono Jonas.
That wasn't successful.
That wasn't
Hey,
successful.
Jonas was great at throwing those first two maps. Before.
Yeah, that, and then
bringing him up for the reverse sweep. It was great.
the Hanzo Spark switching out Gushway and is it No Smite?
No Smite. Yeah, that worked a little bit.
Not really,
I think
though.
It worked the first 2 games or so, and then once people found out that Gushway had a hard time on Ryan, and then they and No Smite wasn't great at anything else but Ryan, they kind of got in a weird spot. The two things I think though, number one, I think you got to figure out the team morale problem more than anything. I think the team itself is just mentally boomed, to use the phrase again.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they went to a huge high at the homestand, and then been plummeting ever since.
I think even the coaches are going through that mental hump, right? I mean, we know everything that happened with Jane and how he had to step away from social media because he was getting a little bit too much. From what it sounds like some of the fans are incredibly harsh to some of them, even sending them death threats.
Yeah,
and
it's absurd.
Weird stuff.
When the league isn't necessarily helping in certain spots, because it seems every single time Zach says has any sort of trash talk is the one thing they put up on the screen. Hey, let's show Zach getting his butt kicked after trash talking. And then meanwhile, we know everybody trash talks. They banned in-game chat because Jake would use it to trash talk the other team all the time.
I will say that Zachary, not recently, but used to just piss me off so bad because he would constantly voice emote and use the voice lines and the emotes, and I'm like, dude, maybe you wouldn't have died there if you were using moves instead of trying to talk smack. So I think that's something he needs to grow out of, to be honest.
The other thing is, did you see the clip that they played on Watchpoint about Note getting absolutely bullied by Rascal for like 2 straight minutes?
Oh god, dude, Note was
Oh,
getting he was getting just like blocked out. Like it was some of the biggest staggers I have ever seen. Like the San Francisco game was hard to watch. I didn't even watch the last map. I was like, nope, I'm going to the grocery store so I can watch an actual game next. I was so upset.
it's so awesome.
San Francisco, we gotta talk about that though, because
Mm.
they have done one of the most amazing transitions, and I think that they're still staying on top on their game. And from going to the top goats team in the league to possibly one of the top 2-2-2 teams in the league, I think is rather impressive, and it's something to definitely talk about and acknowledge from them. It's something
And
that some of
they're
the teams have to be looking at. What are they doing that they can transition so seamlessly from one meta to the other?
and how can they rotate so many players and still be so good? I mean, synergy is there. Like, what are they doing in scrims? Like, how are they like that good together? Like, I mean, they were just like on Anubis defense. Sinatra was unreal on the Genji, and I didn't even know Sinatra had a good Genji. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, they have some amazing players, but it can't be only up to the players to be able to transition in this meta. Like Krusty was probably the biggest asset that Boston Uprising lost. Right now, they're probably wishing that he was back, looking down from the bottom of the ladder at San Francisco Shock and how they're adapting so well and how they're using their players to their full advantage right now.
It's like San Francisco's still so freaking scary, even without Striker. Like the fact that we can just, hey, we'll just sub Architect in, and Architect will just go off on Reaper for like 3 straight maps.
dude, and strikers played too. I mean, it's been absolutely nutty. San Fran, like I'm pretty sure someone asked me recently who I thought the best team was. What was that?
We were
On?
on around, we were on
Yeah,
around the payload together, and they asked it.
yeah, and I said Shock, and it looks like a week later I'm still right. Like the, because the Titans, even though they're still winning, still seem a little wishy washy. I'll tell you who doesn't like look good right now is NYXL, who lost 4-0 to the Charge. They did win against the Spark, but the Spark hasn't looked good, and they won in map 5 3-2 to the Spark, but then 4-0'd 4-0'd by the Charge. What do we think of NYXL, and are they even going to put up a fight in the playoffs?
I keep hearing some of the same narrative that we were hearing last season towards the where playoffs were about to come, where people were saying, "Oh, New York Excelsior is probably sandbagging over here, hiding some of the strats," and some of the arguments are, we have Nene on the Doomfist, right? We've seen a ton of Doomfist. Which why do you have Nene on Doomfist? He hasn't been known to be playing that hero. Um, but I don't know. I think that NYXL is trying to do their own thing right now, and it's just not working out. I don't know if they're like hiding anything, to be honest.
Sorry, I just got exposed for a second there. No, New York looks. I hate to say the phrase over and over, but they look boomed. Like it's. I think it's the kind of thing where you're already dreading season playoffs. You already know that. Yeah, you have it locked, but this is a team that hasn't done a great job of adjusting to new metas, and I don't want to see a repeat of last year, but I'm worried we might get another repeat where, like, all right, it's game time. Have you adjusted? And they just still don't have it locked in. And I don't know. I mean, I play. What do you think as far as what the ideal lineup even is for them to run right now? Because you have this whole bevy of DPS players that you could run, but none of them are actually. None of them seem to be really like succeeding and doing well in this meta.
No, and like you would think, like, oh, well, maybe say Obi can come in, because honestly, now that his hero pool has expanded a little bit, where he can go into the Tracer, he can go into the Sombra, and he's actually like a heroes that he can fit into this meta, but he hasn't been looking super good either. I feel like the roster just in general is struggling to adapt. I don't know if
Heard
it's
that.
maybe the bunker like
Yeah,
composition
nothing.
themselves that are struggling a little bit. Hey Mel, I can hear you there.
Just let me
Hi,
fucking
Mel.
Can you hear
go
us?
back and.
Hi, Mel. Hi, Bob.
Bob and Mel are having some sound difficulties over there.
Yeah, she's having
Um,
difficulties. I'm gonna try and fix the stream on the fly here. So you guys just go ahead.
But I like Four Faces of Me. No, but like, I agree with you. Like SBB is a guy who we thought like is like, oh, like this Tracer Dynamo. This guy's like easily like the best guy in the game. And good news, like the one hero that you were really good at still isn't meta yet.
And honestly, you have Nene, right? Which is a fantastic Widow. We've seen him freaking kill it on the Widow, go up against the best Widow makers in the league and still come out on top. Why is he playing Doomfist is my question. Who is he trying to bully in this meta with Doomfist, where Ryan is not even like a thing anymore? Sigma hasn't made an appearance. Why are you playing so much Doomfist when you have so much potential in other heroes. Did they play Libero? Because Libero is one of their best Hanzos, and
Hmm?
I think that he's been doing that for the most part, right?
Yeah, I mean Libero is kind of the staple in that lineup where it's Libero and then whoever else they want to run typically. I think there is speculation here. Last year's NYXL kind of strategy and a little bit of it with the goats this year is that we wait on Jonak to get the pick. Jonak gets the pick and then we like advance onto that.
Yep.
We saw it
The
all of last year.
defensive strategy.
We saw it during stage 3 where like even with SBB's Sombra where instead of like him like popping out hacking somebody and then them jumping on that guy, it was Jonak almost getting the pick or getting somebody really low and then him popping out and getting the kill. And I think right now with how many good flex supports there are and with how much more coordinated most teams are because of goats, it's a lot harder to pick somebody who's out in the open just sitting and hanging out. And I think when they can't rely on just a single pick to launch every team fight, it gets a little frustrating with what to do. And that might be why you
Yeah,
see Nene on Doomfist, because they're trying to still get that one pick and then push forward.
And see,
maybe
they
that's
could
kind of
do
what they do.
that.
But honestly, that's why they bring the Hanzo. Sometimes that's why they bring the Moira too, right? So they can bypass that because you're right. Like heroes have gotten really good at hiding in the bunker, and Orisa is basically immortal as long as she's hiding behind the shield, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think we just need to just accept the fact that New York they excelled at dive. And now with all the shields, like Jonak's not, you know, getting those first picks, and like they're just not as good at other metas. I mean, we've never seen them be extraordinary at any meta besides dive. I mean, they
No,
got goats
they're
figured
not
out
bad
by
either.
stage 2, but like yeah, but they've been able to win, but they're just not dominating like they were before.
Yeah, but we've had it with that pedestal from last season of they showed us what dive was, right? Like the way they were playing dive was like, oh my god, New York Excelsior are freaking gods. But you're right. Ever since then, we just haven't seen that from them in other metas and everywhere else. Hey, Mel's back. What's
She
up?
lives.
Back.
Yay.
Sorry.
But yeah, now they've been relegated to more of one of the top teams, right? Just not the best team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put that. I would say you could put them like in like the 4 to 8 range. I
Yeah.
don't think they're top
Although
3 right now for
until
sure.
Yeah.
they end
I
up
don't
in
think
eighth, I'm not gonna put them in the eighth range because I mean they're still one of the top teams at the moment.
Are you
Like
talking about New York?
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And like the way the meta's changed, like the top teams are completely different. Like Washington Justice is one of the top teams, and you know, like
I
they.
mean, I just feel like. Go ahead. No, finish. Sorry.
I was just saying the Justice is on a. They have the possibility to go 7-0 in stage 4, and then just wave goodbye to everybody because they're not going to get to play. And it's funny, but maybe we should have. I don't know. I think season 3 will be a lot better with the 2-2-2, and it will actually balance itself out a lot better than it did this year. The goats meta, like you saw, like lots of the teams that had the best DPS didn't do very well at all, and I think it was kind of a tragedy for this season. But speaking of tragedies, now that
Wait,
Mel's
can I give my
back,
two?
let's
Can I
talk
give my
about
2
the
cents?
Outlaws.
Mel,
You're
what are your
muted.
2 cents?
You're
Hello?
muted.
I can hear.
Oh, okay.
I
Thanks.
can hear Mel.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's good.
She was muted
So-
for a second.
Okay, so with the NYXL, I feel like the NYXL is historically just slow to adapt, right? Like we saw it last year when the meta changed. Like
Yeah, I
they're
said
just
this all while you were gone.
okay. Well, they're just slow to adapt. So I think that NYXL, yes, has the tools, but I think that they're just going to take some time. And who knows if they'll get that in time for the playoffs, right? Like maybe they've got somebody grinding Sigma. Probably not because we know NYXL, but they should like bring
Yeah,
something into the playoffs. But
Pine on Sigma
They,
2020.
yeah, they would be the last team that I would think would bring Sigma on. Like if
Well,
Sigma's coming in,
listen.
Chengdu's playing him.
listen, maybe they will learn from their previous errors and be able to step up. But I don't know. I think they beat the Spark, and Spark's been looking well, but Charge has been looking really strong, and they got 4-0'd by Charge. So I don't know that we can call it the end all be all.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, you wanted to talk about
I wanted
who?
the two Outlaw fans here to tell me why the Outlaws did not impress in the 2-2-2.
Both of the Outlaws fans just left.
Oh,
They
sweet.
just left their seats. They're
Means
out.
that-
I guess. Well,
that
I guess there's
we
no
can talk
representation.
about like
No, I think I'm again. Okay, I will defend the Outlaws to my nth degree, but I love them. They just have really struggled. I think it's a lot of like, there's just a lot of internal things going on. They've got to figure out their whole, just like themselves in general, I feel like. But I will say one positive note about this past week is that Linkser did pop off. And I think he was really down in the dumps of after like Friday or Saturday. I don't remember when they played. But he was really down in the dumps after they played on their first game. Oh, it was Saturday, yeah. And then he came back on Sunday. They played the Justice, and the Justice is a hard team right now. Like I know historically, it's like when Shanghai first beat people, right? It was like, oh my God, you lost to Shanghai. They're a totally different team, right? It's pretty much Justice right now, a totally different team. So
No, they are. I'm actually concerned to play him later this week.
yeah, they're terrifying. And Corey is just a monster. And Stratus is nothing to balk at either, right? Like he's awesome. So I don't know. I felt like it felt good to see Linkser like even kill Corey a couple times on Widow. Like it was like, haha, we got you, right? But I think it helped Linkser get back into his place. Linkser's kind of a streaky player where like if he's off, he's like off. And if he's on, he can make these like incredible plays. So
Although I think that's every Widowmaker player in the league. It's just close to
Except for
impossible
Corey.
to always be there. Well, Corey right now is in a hot streak.
Yeah.
And he's insane. It's
Just an-
amazing how much he's consistent he's been in Widowmaker.
yeah.
Because you've seen it with pretty much every Widowmaker out there. Bird Ring.
Mhm.
You've seen it with
With
Carpet,
Pine even, like where Pine was hot
Pine,
for like 3 weeks.
Right.
Kaimu, Linkser, all of them have made a name for themselves as Widowmakers in the league, but none of them have been able to sustain that level of performance because
Right.
it's extremely hard.
Right. You just have off days. But I do think that Jake being out is not good for the team. And I know that Jake had tweeted out that he had requested to be out for personal reasons that he didn't want to discuss, but he is okay. Clear that up. But I think that him being off of that team, we've very much realized that he is the talker. He is the planner. He is the voice on that team. And when he's not there, there's a lot of disconnect.
Mm. It's
But-
something I've been talking about for a while. Like when people were talking about like Houston's going to be really good in 2-2-2. It's like, no, because Houston needs to play all 3 DPS. Like Houston needs all 3 of those guys out there. They can't like, you need Jake to talk, and then Dante's really freaking good, and Linkster's your carry when he's on. And
right. So what do? Like you put your 2 Rockstar DPS in with Dante and Linkster, but like record shows that's not our best plan, right? Like
Jake on the Roadhog.
Jake needs to learn support or tank. I'll
Jake
tank her.
on
you
the
guys-
Roadhog.
let's be real here, because like I know Jake historically, like last season was an average tracer. Yeah.
He was a good Roadhog. though.
But I think like if you look at him this year in the 2-2-2 Rollock, I will say I have seen some very good play from Jake. He has done well
He
on the
has.
Genji. He has
Mhm.
done well on the Pharah. He has done well on the Hanzo. Like, and I'm not saying like well, like adequate. He's done like above average on those. And I think
He has
that
performed really well. Yeah.
we can't cut that short, right? Like, but I think Bob brought up to me the other day, like maybe because he's talking so much, that's why he's not mechanically as skilled as maybe some of these other players, right? Because he's constantly like in so many other zones of like talking and
Yeah, that's what I said. I think I actually said it last season. Was like maybe that impedes his, because most teams will tell you that DPS players are fairly silent players. Like Baby Bay is one that people say is very talkative as a DPS. Jake is one of them too, and I wonder if that, takes away from their actual concentration on clicking heads.
maybe. But
I think with Houston, it's just always going to be the problem of, I love these boys. I love them so much. My heart has been hurt so many times.
That's me with Fuel, and Fuel looked like they were going to be good this freaking year, and it's been such a bummer of the last 2 stages for me. It's been rough, but let's talk about some of the teams that are good. So,
but why?
See,
Let's
now Bob's
talk about-
Bob's bullying me. Bob's bullying me over here, guys.
I second that motion.
Last thing about the Outlaws,
All right,
and then
go.
I'll shut up about it. It's very, very hard to play, and like it's very hard to be happy and succeed in a work environment where you're constantly strapped for money, and where like everybody hates your coaching staff, and no one really, really knows what they're doing because they're stretched to their limit. Like they talk about how the Houston has one of the tiniest coaching staffs, because I think it's literally Tyrong and Clockwork. Like
Yeah.
it's 2 guys. They
Flame.
have, and Flame. Like they have no money to do anything. They're really stretching, and they also have a very vocal, somewhat shrill fan base that is very quick to be like, "Where's Jake?" Like banging the table, like Jake wasn't out there. Like we are owed an explanation. Like legit, Bob. I saw a post on Reddit yesterday. It was like, "Where's Arhan? We haven't seen Arhan in 2 stages. I
Oh my
demand to know.
God.
The people have the right." So like, it's very hard to succeed in that kind of environment, especially when you are following the foolhardy errand that you need to play goats, and then people are just yelling at you for 3 stages that you can't play goats. Like Houston's internal environment isn't great as it is, so they're already kind of a mediocre team. But then already having to have that on, like the monkey on your back of like being stressed and stretched out, is not going to make your play any better.
Okay, but I feel like I will give the advice to Houston that someone gave to me once when I was in ballet as a younger age, and they would correct you a lot, right? Or like they'd like, be like really on top of you and like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like, why don't you do this? Blah blah blah. And like the moment you have to be worried is when people stop paying attention to you, right? Because then you're nothing, right? You don't even like
it's kind of like Monty.
warrant a
they're just like, okay,
argument.
well, we'll just let them do their own thing.
Right. It's like they've got potential and they've got the talent, and people like them and want them to succeed. And yes, sometimes it comes off in a negative way, but people wouldn't even talk about them negatively if they didn't care. And I think that that's, and yes, some people talk about them negatively because they want to rile up the shriekers, whatever. But it doesn't matter. Like, it's just no press is bad press, and they need to get together as a team and be like, listen, who cares what these people are saying poorly about us? Like, nobody in any sport, in any line of work, explains every single decision that was ever made. They don't. Okay. So I'm sorry, but you don't deserve that. That is not
No.
your right as a fan to gain access to that. You
No.
need to watch and root for a team. And maybe it's because I rooted for the Chiefs for so long and they were just like always on like this Dallas fuel level of like, hey, you can still make the playoffs if you win out and XYZ A, B, C, D, E, F, G happens, right? Like, it's always like, well, there's a chance. Like, and I feel like that's where Houston is. And people like are still behind them because they're always good enough to not be good, right? Like, but they're not Shanghai last season or Washington Justice for the first 3 stages. Like, they're not that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to cut off the Houston talk.
Houston forever.
Houston done.
My
Let's
heart
talk
will bleed
about
forever.
the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign looks to be one of the best teams in this stage. They are 3-0. They have 4 more games though. Two
I
of
thought we were
which
4-0. You taking away from us?
No, you're 3-0. You didn't play at all last week. You had a bye, and you play.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
You
you're right.
played
We're
this
3-0.
week twice.
I'll
You
let
play
it
the
slide.
Justice, and you
It's because you
play
weren't
the
upset
Spitfire.
last week. So you were like, we must have won.
And
Because
then-
it wasn't
yeah,
upset.
you played twice. You play in the 5th week at the homestand Kit Kat rivalry weekend. You play the Dallas Fuel and the Boston Uprising. But that week looks to
Tough
be a
week.
little easier for
Tough
you.
week.
But this coming up week, you're going to be playing the Washington Justice and the London Spitfire, and you're you have a really good chance of making it into play-ins. Like, you guys are currently 11th at 12-12, but you have a +8 map differential. And the only other team with a plus map differential in the play-ins currently is the Seoul Dynasty. So it looks like you're going to be in the play-ins for sure. And what do you think it is about this stage that has just like made the Reign better? Because they were kind of struggling, and then they picked it up at their home stand. What's kept it going? Because Dallas died after theirs.
I think they were struggling a little bit, and I think that the homestand definitely had a huge impact on the team. I think that at least the team could see themselves, or they could see their future, right? Compared to some other teams who've just been on the grind for over and over and keep doing the same thing. Atlanta had this glimpse of, okay, this is what it's going to be like next season when we move into all this stuff. They got to see the fans, they got to see themselves there, and they enjoyed it, they liked it. And I think that that is a huge deal, right? Like, because after that the team seems to have gelled really well together. I think it was a huge bonding experience for the team. I mean, you saw them that weekend. They were all together, all hanging out, all meddling with the fans, and they all got to kind of like see the longevity of this project that they're doing. So I'm willing to
Well,
bet that the morale is super high after that.
But
You're
so
saying
did
no?
maybe
Dallas,
the
though,
delay,
too.
but maybe the delay wasn't as long, right? So like Dallas, it was in stage 2, and they still had 2 whole stages to go of like waiting for that again, right? And
Yeah, good
so
point.
Atlanta, there's like less of a delay. So like the impact that it had on Atlanta might have been more because they could carry that like hype into the next stage, knowing they were going to go back home, right? Dallas was in stage 2, kind of like, okay, well, we still have 2 more stages before we ever get back to that again. And like, this is depressing, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating, but
And they
Well,
were thinking the 2-2-2 was coming
and I don't think it was
also.
only the homestand. I think that the homestand was just kind of like the fire that lit the flame kind of for them. But going into the stage, Atlanta has always been a very aggressive team. Even the Goats meta, they're one of the more aggressive Goats teams, right? They were not trying to wait for you, or they weren't trying to find the right moment. They were more of, we're going in and we're either stomping you or you're killing us, but like someone is gonna die right here, right now. And I think that that style blends really well into this 2-2 role lock that we're going into. Dogman is a super aggressive support player. We have super aggressive off tank with Dako. And I think that FRD or um, yeah, FRD has been doing an amazing job on the Diva. I think
Yeah,
that it's been really cool that they're not compromising. They're not like just accepting the Roadhog blindly. Like they looked within themselves and they're like, you know what? We have an amazing Diva player and he's making this thing work. Let's work around that and make that work. So I think that Brad, the coach, has been really good at identifying some of the strengths of the team, and they made a seamless transition into 2-2-2.
yeah, but Daco hasn't been playing.
Daco
Like
hasn't been playing too much. FRD has kind of been
FRD has
taking
been
that
playing
spot.
a ton.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's been amazing on the Diva. But I was mentioning Daco more because Daco has that aggressive playstyle too, and I think FRD has kind of taken the baton on that, and it's keeping the aggression high. They love nano boosting divas and then just going straight for the back line and just getting rid of that Zenyatta immediately, getting rid of that Ana, that Mercy, whatever it is that they need to take out, and it's worked out really well because now that you have like beefy bodies like before, you can actually get away with that. So I don't know. Atlanta's looking good. This is probably gonna be the toughest week that they're gonna have this stage. You're going up against Justice and London Spitfire. True test of where we stand with our 2-2-2. I'm interested to see that Baby Babe versus Corey Widowmaker battle. We'll see if that it happens because Erster has also been playing the Widowmaker. So, and I also like that they have redundancy between some of their DPS players. It's easy for them to swap in and out, and they still have like a
And
wide range.
Lair's been really looking good on the May too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I have a little soft spot in my heart for N Lair after hanging out with him quite a bit at the Atlanta homestand, and got a little soft spot for that guy. So I'm happy to see him having some success.
He's a
Ramses, you
good
were going
guy.
to say something?
Ursa's a freak. Like that
Dude,
guy
he
is
is.
ridiculous. Labosco talks about it, talks it up all the time. Like casting Pacific Division contenders, where that guy was just destroying people. Like I am afraid of Erster. I have nightmares of Erster coming for me in my dreams at this point. And
Erster Loki has been one of the more solid Hansos this stage. He has been getting so much value for us, and Hanso has become such an integral part of all these rosters. He brings in so much damage, and the Dragons don't care for the Orisa shield, right? And it's like one of the things that can allow you to get out the Orisa from like her hiding hole. Um, so I think that having Erster there has been a huge asset for the team.
mhm.
Who do you think's the most impactful character right now? Like, because when
May.
I
Like
think about it,
hero
I
wise,
hero,
May.
yeah. So I think either okay. Here's your options. This is my question, Bob. You can't answer before I give your
Sorry.
options.
Sorry.
May.
Is
It's
it
gonna be May.
Baptiste, Hanzo, or May?
can I say neither? And can I say Orisa?
You think Arissa or
Walk
Hawk?
the
Orisa,
horse.
I think Orisa. Everything revolves around her. The formation, the positioning, the hook wouldn't even be that appealing if it wasn't for the halt. To be honest, the
Right.
whole reason why the hook is nice is because you get free hooks, guaranteed. You don't have to risk it, right? It's no longer a gamble. Your Orisa pulled somebody, well, we're hooking that guy, kind of things.
Right.
It sets up the May. The only reason that the May is getting played is because Orisa has brought Hog, and that's a thing. And now they
Mhm.
realize, well, easiest way to counter this is with a giant wall kind of in between us. So I think
See,
that,
and I
and then
disagree
Hanzo has
with
been
you.
brought in because you can break the shield, and I think that right now everything's meant to revolve around the Orisa and to fight the Orisa, unless we're talking about like control maps in which it changes a
Right.
little bit.
See, I think the May empowers the Orisa, getting her to high grounds at the right times. Like the May is the one that singles out, uh, one or two people from the other team. She's extremely powerful right now. I don't know if you saw that tweet from Mangachu where he said guide on how to play May, and then it was just him like spinning all around, like freezing everybody, like you could barely even make out the clip. I mean, May has. They're gonna need to take a look at May. They're really gonna need to take a look at May.
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
if I
May is
could
really
see less
powerful.
May.
But when do you see May if Orisa isn't being played?
I've seen May even when the Vancouver Titans in their game against who was it against? Bumper decided to just pull out Ryan. Like he's just like, no,
Against the Fusion?
I'm going to Ryan. Yeah, and like May was still played. Like I mean, it's just
Right,
but
but they
the-
4-0
the-
the Fusion, so.
But with the May, was she playing with an Orisa?
yeah.
No, the
but,
May was on Vancouver Titans
Yeah,
with
the
the Ryan,
Mays
is what
were
he's
on
saying.
both sides.
Oh, okay.
I think that unfortunately at the moment, I mean, May's got I think last week like an 85% pick rate.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's insane how much she has. I mean, she brings so much to the table right
Well,
now.
I think if the
and-
other team has a May, you can't not have a May, right? Like you're at a lot of disadvantage if you don't have a May and you're playing a ground squad,
yeah.
Yeah, unless you're doing like the pharmacy, in which case
right?
you don't care as much. Yeah.
What's your answer, Ramses?
I probably would say May as well, just because, like, without the May, you can't have the Reaper actually working very well. Like, you need something to slow down people for him to start getting the headshots. The Hog Hook combo is really, really strong. I think Orisa's definitely second, but I think with the May, because and also you're getting those you're getting those right clicks, excuse me, so you're charging up your ult decently quick as well. And Blizzard's kind of becoming the new ult that we're all kind of playing around, like how Shatter was the ult. Shatter and Graviton were the ults that everyone played around during GOATs because those were the big ones you had to coordinate. And now I think that we're seeing Blizzard kind of become the main thing you're watching for in the fight.
Listen, all I
Yeah.
want to say is that all three of you suck because you didn't realize the benefit of the healer in this situation, okay? Because I think
Baptiste is definitely very strong.
is very strong in this comp because of the immortality field and because of not even really the amplification matrix, but just the immortality field on general on cooldown, right? It's not even an ult, but on cooldown, it can stop you from getting killed in a blizzard, right?
And it
And that's
it stops Hanzo.
stops you from getting killed in a dragon. Like it stops a lot. And that being said, I think Anna has had a really big impact too with the anti-heal, with the sleep darts, with all of that. So yep, those are my thoughts.
Yep. I guess we all failed. But looking at
Yes. My
the
question, I get to pick the answer.
the upcoming play-ins, the Los Angeles Valiant is real close, and they could overtake the Chengdu Hunters or the Fusion. Well, I don't know if they could take over the Fusion. I don't know how many games are left.
The problem is
Valiant
that
only has 3 games left.
Valiant's schedule is kind of Herculean if you look at it though, because like Boston's Boston, but at this rate you have to study for Boston. You can't afford to not pay attention to that game because if you take it off, there's a chance Boston beats you.
But they only
Like-
have 1 game that week, and it's against Boston.
That's
So-
probably
well-
the easiest game that they have because after that they go against Gladiators and San Francisco, and it becomes a steep hill towards the end of the stage.
Right, but then you look at Chengdu, they go against San Francisco next week. And then Houston, who is obviously going to beat them. So,
Maybe question
I mean-
you can hope.
this happened before.
Yeah, dude.
Don't let the
only
light go
people-
out, Mel.
So currently, the Titans, the Excelsior, the Shock, the Gladiators, the Spark, and London are all in the playoffs as of now. Not in play-ins, but in the actual playoffs. Now, the Hanzo Spark, if
No,
Seoul Dynasty picks it up, they could jump
let's.
ahead of Spark easy.
But the Titans, New York, Shock, Gladiators, Spark, and Spitfire have all clinched a playoff spot. Like they cannot be eliminated anymore.
According to
Or at least a
OverwatchLeague.com, the
play-in spot.
Titans and the
At least a
Excelsior.
play-in spot.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
That's what-
I'm
sorry.
talking about. I'm talking about the actual playoffs, and I'm talking about Spark. Spark
Playoffs?
could be playoffs. Playoffs. Spark could be pushed out by Seoul Dynasty if Dynasty wins out, and if Atlanta Reign wins out too. They could also push Spark out, where Atlanta Reign wouldn't even be in play-ins; they would just be in playoffs.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, it's up in
London's
the
kind
air
of
for
in
some
that.
teams still.
Oh no, London's not in that boat because they only have one game left.
Yeah,
But
and they're at a +10 differential. Like they're looking pretty good. But
right, but
Spark,
Seoul's at +14. Like that's
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah,
too.
like Seoul could like if Seoul wins out here, then they could be in playoffs and Spark goes down to the play-ins.
Seoul struggled this week though. I mean, Seoul barely beat Defiant.
Dude, it's getting a little
Just
crazy
saying.
here at the end. I think Atlanta's gonna move up. I think they're gonna be in playoffs and not even in play-ins.
I have faith. Like as long as we don't mess up our schedule, I think we can afford to lose to Washington, and that's it. We have to win every other game to at least go in safe. I think if we don't do that, then it's at the mercy of what happens with the other teams, right?
Well,
Like,
if you lose though, you can't get 4-0'd because what's looking really good for you at the moment is the +8 map differential.
yeah, it's helped that we've actually done like really good, like dominated the matches that we've had. And like the end of the stage is not looking bad for us. We're playing Dallas Fuel and Boston Uprising, and I'm sorry, Bob, but right now, if I had to choose a team to play against, is those two right there. So we're looking good. Like I said, I think we can afford to lose to Justice if we need to, but if we win that, man, we would be looking so good, and we had established dominance, right? Like, wow, Atlanta is a team to watch out for. Not even Justice could take him down, but that's we gotta see that, right? I think that Atlanta has the potential to clutch it, but it's
What
gonna be a tough
sucks
one.
for Atlanta is you are going to take on the Fuel in that last week, but most likely the Fuel's going to be statistically eliminated by that time, and then they got nothing to lose, and they're just playing the game, and that's something that's so exciting about the end of this is because there's no stage playoffs. People just have nothing to lose, and teams once the pressure's off.
Inverse theory, though, I could see with Fuel being like, look, we're already out. I really don't want to be here. Unco's
True,
going to look
true.
even more frustrated and upset to be on stage if that's possible.
True, true.
Like, the thing
Well,
I
and
could see
Unco
Fuel.
didn't even play
Yeah.
this week. Harry played
It's
both
something.
games, right?
It's something about eye problems, right? I keep hearing that thrown around that he has like eye problems or something that makes him miss time every once in a while.
I think Harry's great. I like Harry Hug.
If you're
But-
listening, Totem, that's how I lost in fantasy this week, was because I was expecting literally 20 points from Unco and he didn't play at
Yeah.
all.
Sucks to suck.
dude.
Sucks
But
to
I
suck,
do
man.
think that, like, I don't know. I feel like Dallas could go either way, but they do still have something to play for, is what I'm saying. Is like they're going to their hometown next season, and what they have to play for is getting teams or getting their fans excited about them coming to their hometown. And like, yes, there
Well,
will
and
be
Dallas
fans that
has
are excited.
five home stands next season.
I agree. And there will be fans that are excited regardless. But you want to get the like majority of the fans, like you got Dallas News covering this, and they're like, here's the breakdown of how Dallas can make the playoffs, right? Like they do have something to play for. And I think that they need to give something to the news coverage that's coming at them right now, or else they're wasting that opportunity, right? Like Dallas is out of the playoffs, but they beat this team, right? And kept them from getting into the playoffs. Like that's a good news line. But just like Dallas gave up because they were already out, like that's silly.
No, I'm saying the opposite. I don't think Dallas will give up. I'm saying they'll have nothing to lose. They'll play better because pressure's off.
Okay.
But it's going to be an interesting end here. This play-ins thing is something we've never seen, so I'm excited to see it play out. And we will talk to you about what actually happened, what played out next week. So we're going to move into closing out the show. Oh, man. This is exciting, but it's also kind of sad because we only have 2 more weeks of regular season games. Then we have the play-ins and the playoffs, but it's a little sad for us.
Although I kind of like that this is gonna become a thing, right? Every year we get to look forward, new teams maybe coming in, new rosters,
New
everything developing, new metas, and like this year has been a big year, right? We had the end of goats, we have 222 Roadlock get released. It's kind of marked. I feel like this season of Overwatch League this was the Ghost 222 Roadlock season right here. And it's going to be nice, closing it off, getting Sigma in, watching
At
how the
least they're
teams
going to show
do.
us how to play Sigma before.
Yeah, well, at least we'll get
right?
a little bit of that before the league is over, and then we get to see World Cup, which is always a little fun and games over there, and then we get to see the new season, which is again always exciting. So I'm looking forward to kind of like this cycle every year, right? And hopefully we can
Right.
have it for many years to come.
For sure.
I'm looking forward to games just being on the weekends so that I have more time to actually play the game. That's going to be nice.
That is gonna be nice.
Side question: so you guys are hearing this Monday night live. The podcast will drop later. How many days do we give it before people immediately start complaining about Roadlock not automatically raising their SR for everything?
Are they not complaining already?
It's starting.
I was
It's
like,
starting.
wait a minute.
You can hear the whispers. You can hear the whispers. But I just imagine as soon as it hits live, we get maybe 6 days, and then everyone just immediately starts
I'm
whining.
sure.
All
I'm sure
I've
there's
got
gonna be
to
a lot of
say,
surprises.
I haven't played live. I haven't even logged into live since PTR released
Oh, I should
with
probably finish my
222.
placements before tomorrow.
I probably
Tomorrow's
should,
the
but
new
I'm not
patch.
going to do it.
You guys,
Just not gonna do it.
I went
Like,
on the Omnic Weekly yesterday.
yeah.
Yes. And they're like, so what loot boxes have you opened? And I was like, so the thing is I haven't logged into the live server, so I've been playing on the PTR. Like, sorry.
Yeah, where the game is actually correct and you don't lose walking out of spawn. Like, yeah, you could have bad comps, but nowhere near as bad as you could have before. So it's a
You
whole
can
new
actually
world.
play what you want to play. You
Yeah.
don't have to roll the dice anymore. Like, oh, I hope I can really play Hansa this game. Oh, never mind. Reinhardt it is.
Yep. I can't wait. It's gonna be a good time. But so we're gonna go ahead and close out the show. If you guys want to check us out live, you can always check us out on twitch.tv/OwlRecap. We record normally at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, and you can check us out there. We also release on YouTube, and it's grown quite a bit. But if you guys could just do me a favor and just like the videos, that would help a lot because we have a lot of views, not a ton of likes, and likes help out a ton. Also, click that bell. You can also find us at almost every podcatcher you could think of: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. And if you want to help us out even more, leave a review. Reviews help us quite a bit. Everybody says that it helps you show up on the top, but we're on the top on most of them, and we don't have a lot of reviews, so I don't know how true that is, but please help us by just leaving one. It as iPlay says, it warms our hearts.
Warms them
It
hearts.
does. Makes me feel happy.
Game night for Omnic Lab and Owl Recap this month is Friday the 30th. iPlay, why don't you tell us a little bit about game nights?
Game night is always super fun. If you guys are looking for a community to game with, a group of people to just hang out your Friday night or spend your Friday night having fun playing Overwatch, it's the place to be. We do lobbies or custom lobbies pretty much all night. It usually starts around 8 p.m. Eastern and it goes up until people go to bed, which is sometimes like the next day. So, don't be afraid. You're not gonna miss it. Come in late if you are doing some of the stuff earlier in the day. That being said, it's a great place to meet other people, meet other Overwatch players, get to hang out with us if you want to actually get to play with us, and you get to beat us, or we might beat you. Who knows? You gotta try it out.
Yeah, I get beat up pretty bad during game nights because everybody loves to troll Bob, but that's okay because I have a good old time and it makes me a better player. So come on in.
What's more fun than trolling Bob, guys? Come on.
Oh,
It's true.
What else? I've been moving, guys. I'm sorry. I haven't written out my outro, so I'm forgetting things. Oh, if you want to support us even further, go to patreon.com/owlrecap and throw us a cup of coffee a month, whatever. Every little bit helps. Thank you so much. And I feel, oh, yeah. Also, don't forget, you only have 2 more weeks to do it, but check out Daily Fantasy at fantasyowl.com. And I know I'm forgetting something.
You can find us on Twitter.
You can find us on Twitter at Owl Recap. And
you can email us.
You can email us at send your emails to contact@owlrecap.com. I'm so sorry, guys. I've been moving. It's been rough. But let's go ahead and just end it out.
One last thing. So we got a 5-star review from iTunes.
Nice.
So I do want to read that. So from Browser Review is the name. He says, pretty fun podcast. I've been listening to this podcast since around the end of last season. It's a pretty fun podcast with some good insights and speculate about the games and what is happening in the league. And the hosts are usually very entertaining. Usually, not always, guys, just so you know. Probably when I'm not here, just saying. Would definitely recommend to anyone looking for a good Overwatch or Overwatch League podcast to dig into. So thank you very much, Browser Review.
Thank you very much. Please forget this week of my hosting because literally I'm just
I got you covered.
Yeah, just working constantly. You see no art on my walls here. It's all sitting over there. I have to hang it up after we stop here, and then I have to edit Ramses' podcast, push the point.
All 2 hours of it, baby.
Yeah, I got to do that and edit this podcast and get it all out and leave tomorrow to clean the old apartment. It's just been a week, but next week we will be back in full force, and we can't wait for it. So to end out the show, iPlay, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at iplaigames. You spell that IPLAI games.
And the beautiful Mel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch.
And
Just
Ramses,
like it sounds.
the best looking man in Overwatch podcasting, where can we find you? Give it to us.
The best looking man in a completely audio medium. I appreciate it. Thank you, Bob. You can find me on Twitter at Ramses_OW. You can find my show, Push the Point, on Twitter at PushPointPod and on iTunes. I know once Bob is done editing our giant episode, it'll come out eventually, hopefully before the game start.
We're hoping it comes out tomorrow morning or late tonight. I'm going to try and get it to him tonight. So
you're the best, Bobby. But we had Thibbledork on, who's the junior social manager for the Florida Mayhem and a pretty big personality in the Overwatch community.
Also known as Seagull Man.
The artist formerly known as Seagull Man. That's the one distinction, unfortunately. But it was great. Awesome time. Thank you for having me as always. I'm not going to be on Owl by the Numbers this week, unfortunately, or next week. So I got to get my Bobby time in while I can.
I need to send Totem a message. I'm not going to be on tomorrow either because I've got to get all this stuff done. And with editing for Jaw, for Mash Those Buttons this week and everything else, there's just no way I'm going to be able to do it. So,
All right, Mel, the ball's in your court. You gotta back us up fantasy wise this week.
No.
All right.
Okay.
And
Got
you
it.
can find me on Twitter at Blazzin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. We thank you guys so much for coming. We thank everybody in the live audience. Thank you, Overtake Al, for the follow. We are out, guys. We will see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.